Right. Welcome back again. And let's continue with the case tree whereby both the linear and constant terms are present. And we have talked that I have mentioned it. We have three ways whereby we can solve these problems. Factorization is one alternative. Completing the square is another alternative. Quadratic formula is another alternative. I have also mentioned that factorization doesn't work all the time. So it is very important to know completing the square and quadratic formula. Completing the square and quadratic formula, they are very, very similar. And I will give you the formula. And next class, we will go to how the formula came about. We will drive it. Knowing the formula, memorizing it is not enough to be able to drive it by ourselves. That's my belief. So now let's look at the case tree. Whereby we have full quadratic expression, none of the terms are missing. So we have P is not equals to 0 and Q also equals to 0. So we said that we can solve this in two ways. Factorization is one way. Completing the square is another way. And the quadratic equation, a well-known one, quadratic formula. So we have this. So here, the formula is very simple. Once you drive it, sometimes people will call it simple quadratic formula. Simple. We call it simple quadratic formula. And this one they call it general. So here the formula it will be P over 2 plus or minus P raised to the power of 2 over 4 minus Q. Then we take the square root of it. The condition for us to use this formula is that P, remember, is equal to the simple quadratic formula. For us to use P over 4 should be greater than or equals to Q. Why do we say this? Why this condition for completing the square? Because if P raised to the power of 2 over 4 is if it's less than Q, meaning that here will be negative, and we cannot take a square root of negative. So this is one condition that must be met for us to use completing the square using this formula. What it is telling you that this component here should be greater than this one. Because if it's greater than Q, then we will have a positive number within the square root. But if it's less than Q, P raised to the power of 2 over 4, if it's less than Q, then we will have a number less than 0. That is a negative number, and we cannot take a square root of negative number. So we have that. Then how did this formula comes about? Now you have a very nice formula, but we have to drive this. We have to drive this. You understand? So let's go on. And we have a formula also here for general quadratic. It's very straightforward. It's also, The general quadratic is in fact is just you will do few adjustments to this simple quadratic equation that is completing the square, then we will have it. So here the formula for general quadratic is what? X, to find x equals to minus b plus or minus in square b raised to the power of 2 minus 4ac all over 2a. So this is the formula when you want to use this one. This is the formula. So what do we mean by factorization? I will leave that one until later. So we have these two nice formulas, this one and this one, but we don't know how they came about. It's important. This is not high school. In high school, you just know how to use the formula, but here we should be able to derive them. And this is exactly what we are going to do here. Let's look at this, how this came about, this formula. This, we have to find a way how we drive it. We have to do it. We have to find a way. So let's look at it. Let's look at the completing the square. From there, we look at the general quadratic. Then from there, we look at factorization. So let's go on. We are trying to drive that formula, this nice formula. This is how it came about. So we have completing the square. Let's look at it. The derivation of completing the square. The formula is there. So we are coming to drive this, how this formula came about. Let's check it out. So we have this, the general equation is what this, plus P rather, okay, we have P x plus q equals to 0. So the first step here, the reason why they say completing the square is very simple. What we have to do, we have to focus on the constant term. We will divide it by 2 and raise it to the power of 2. That's the name. That's how the name completing the square came about. So just work it out. What I'm going to do, this one, it will come, you bring it down. Remember, what we are trying to do is to know how we got this formula, this completing the square formula. This is what I'm trying to drive here. Then plus, you bring the px plus. So here, this is where the completing the square names comes about. What you have to do is, you set q, you divide it by 2, and raise it to the power of 2. This is where the name comes about, completing the square. This q, divided by 2, and raise everything to the power of 2. So, or what we can even do in a very shorter way, which I think I should prefer. There are many ways to completing the squares, but let's try to do something that is easier for everyone. So instead of, okay, so let's just say plus px. Let's transfer this constant to here. It will be minus q. We have this. So the second step that you should do, I'm taking step by step so that you should be able, so that you can follow. So the next thing what we have to do, we bring the x raised to the power of 2 plus px plus, so this, instead of this, this is what we will take. It should be this. Sorry guys, the internet connection is too bad. Yeah, so let's continue. So let's continue with completing the squares. Okay, so we have this already, step 1. We have this plus px, then the constant component transfer. Step 2, we have this plus, so we will take this, we have this px, so this p is the same p. What we will do it, we over it by 2 and rest everything to 2. We will do similar thing to the right hand side of the equation. So it will plus p over 2 over this. So this name, it came as a result of p over 2. So that's why there's a completing the square. So you add this p over 2 raised to the power of square to both sides of the equation. Is what we did in step 2. So this, we have to factorize it. How do we factorize this? You have to go back to your algebra. If your algebra is rusty, please go back. So to factorize this is always the same thing. What we do, we have x raised to the power of 2 here. We have p over 2 raised to the power of 2. So it's very simple. It will become x plus p over 2, this. If we expand this bracket, you will realize that you will have this left-hand side of the equation. Then equals to what? Equals to minus q plus p over 2. We have this. But remember, our goal here is to find what? X. Remember, our goal here is to find what? X. Always. So how do we find this x? We can multiply this by 1 over 2. Remember, what we are trying to do is to drive that simple quadratic equation for completing the square. So we can do similar thing here as well. Yes. So this will cancel, this will cancel. So we will have x plus p over 2 equals to, so this should be half, by the way. Yes, it should be. We have this. So at the end of the day, we will have this. This is p. This. So we'll have something like this, minus q equals to p. This is p. We have 2 here, remember? So this will be p square all over. 2 times, this is 2 raised to the power of 2. It will give you 4. With this 1 over 2 square root. So if we go on, we will have, let's go to the next slide. It is x plus p over 2 equals to minus q plus, that is in bracket. Remember, in bracket, p2 over 4 raised to the power of half. So if you check this, it is telling you we can restate this equivalently as this plus P2 over 2 equals to P over raised to the power of 2 over 4 minus Q in bracket half. But remember that our goal is to find X. So we will transfer this from here to this side of the equation. If we do that, then it will be X equals to minus P over 2. Then remember this is half, so it will have plus or minus in bracket P over 2, or P raised to the power of 2 over 4 minus Q. This is what we have as a completing the square or simple quadratic. I wrote this formula, but this is how they drive it. So you should be able to know how to drive this formula. Is very, very important. So when we have this formula and a quadratic equation is given to you, for example, let's look at one equation like this: x raised to the power of 2 plus 8x minus 9 equals to 0. If this is given to you, remember that this is a full quadratic equation. The linear term is there, constant term is there, nothing is missing. So you can use this formula to solve this. And if you use this formula, what you are doing is like you are using completing the square to solve this problem. So sometimes people will just know the formula, but they will not know how to drive it. In this class, we have to know how to drive it. In high school, it's okay to cram the formula and use it when the needs arise. But here, we should be able to drive this formula. Okay, so now we know this formula, we have this formula, we can memorize it, but we also know how to drive it. So maybe we have a problem like this and they ask us to solve the equation. So it's very simple to use the formula. So what you need to know is to know what is P and what is Q. And obviously we said that P is what? Remember, don't forget, is P is what? A over B. And Q is what? B over A. And this one is C over A. This is B, please, huh? So what we need to know what is our A. We need to know what is our A. And A here is what? 1. That is the coefficient here. That is the coefficient attached to the quadratic term. And if there is no coefficient here, then it must be 1. So you write 1 there. So our B is what? 8. And our C is what? Minus 9. So then we find P. And P says what? What's the formula? B over A. And what is our B? Is 8. And what is our A? Is 1. So at the end of the day, P is what? 8. So we calculate Q. The formula is what? C over A. What is our C? Is minus 9. And what is our A? Is 1.
Is 1.
So Q is minus 9. So once you have this now, it's very easy. You can come here and substitute it, and you solve this equation. So let's look at it. Let's solve it. So we know our P. We know our P is what? P is 8, I guess. Yeah, 8. And Q is 1 minus 9. And we know that the formula for completing the square or simple quadratic is what? minus p over 2
over
plus or minus
plus
p square over 4 minus q. Remember the condition to use this formula, we stated it. You have to know all these conditions. You might be asked, what are the conditions that must hold for us to use simple quadratic formula or simple completing the square formula? So this is the condition. So now we can just go and substitute. Then x equals to, this x is this. What is our p is 8. You have minus, then p is 8. You have this, plus or minus. So after having that, then look at the terms that are within the square root. And we said p is what? 8 raised to the power of 2 over 4 minus q, which is minus 9. Not sure. So then we go further and let's state this equivalently, that x equals to minus 4, right? 2 here, 1 into here, 4 times. You have the negative, so it will minus 4 plus or minus. Then if you looked at this 8 raised to the power of 2, we will have something like 6, I think 64. Then divided by 4, we have 16. We have 16. Then minus and minus, then it will be plus 9. So we coming down, x equals to minus 4. Please, this is 4 plus or minus, you have 25. So x equals to minus 4 plus or minus the square root of 25 is 5. Then x equals to minus 4 plus 5, or x equals to minus 4 minus 5. Then x equals to what? 1, or x equals to minus 9. So these are our solution. Some people will call it the root of the equation. So when we go on to do graphs, so we solve this, you will see things like this for quadratic, whereby this, it will cut. So where it cuts here, and it cut here, normally they are the solution. Maybe this is x equals to 1 and x equals to minus 9. But don't forget about this, we will get there. We will get there when we start the graphs. So we have the solution here. We have these two solutions, this one and this one. So we use what? For this simple quadratic formula, or in fact, not to confuse you, just call it completing the square. Completing the square. So this formula is what in fact we will use to even drive the general quadratic formula. So it is important we know how to solve these equations. So what we did here is to use completing the squares, the formula. But some people will not even use the formula. They will just go on and solve it in another way. I don't know. Okay, we still have time. And solve it. For example, like they can go on. We have solved this already, but I can show you another way how you can solve this using quadratic, completing the square. For example, this was the equation. So x minus 9 equals to 0. So instead of using the quadratic, completing the square formula, what you can also do is very simple. You can equivalently move this, the constant. What we will be doing also is just the step of completing the square. But these ones, we have the formula already. This one, we use this formula. But if you don't want to use this formula, you can go on like this. So what you will do, plus 8x, you move the 9 to the other side of the equation, it becomes 9. So after doing that, this is the first step. Second step, remember, we are still using the completing the square method. What you will do, you will take this 8, divide it by 9, and then take everything and raise to the power of 2. Doing that, it means you are doing the completing the square. So you will take 8 over 2, then you raise to the power of 2. So add this term to the left side of the equation and add this term to the right hand side of the equation. So doing that, you are still doing completing the square. And at the end of the day, it will take you to this formula. So it depends. You can use the formula and you can just do this. So the next step here is x raised to the power of 2 plus 8x plus this term, 8 over 2 equals to 8 over 2, then plus 9. So at the end of the day, what you will have is very simple. We can have this over 8 over 2. We are factorizing this. So if you factorize this, you will have this. It's very simple. What you do, take this x, bring it down here, bring this x down here, bring 8 over 2 here, and square it, and forget this middle term. It's always like that, you understand, if you cannot do factorization. So here, what we will do is also very simple. This will be 8 raised to the power of 2, which is, this is like 64 over 4 plus 9. So here we will have x plus 8 over 2. So this will give us 16 plus 9. So we want to get x, to get rid of, to have x to stand alone, we multiply both sides by half. Here also we multiply it by half. So here we have x over 8 over 2 equals to 25. So at the end of the day, you'll have x plus 8 over 2 equals to square root 25. So let's bring this here. So we will have x plus, sorry, okay, so we'll have plus 8 over 2 equals to plus or minus 5. So this will in fact plus 4 equals to plus or minus 5. Here is once, here is 4 times. So x will be equals to what? Minus 4 plus or minus 5. So at the end of the day, we'll have the same answer as before. So what we are doing here is just completing the square. But why go through this if you have this formula already? So it depends on you. It's a matter of choice. So this will be minus 4 plus 5, or x equals to minus 4 minus 5. So x equals to 1 as the root of the equation or the solution, or x equals to minus 5, minus 9 rather. So we have this solution is the same as before. So now we looked at the case 3, whereby the linear term is there and the constant term is there. And we said that we have 3 options to use to solve those situations, that case 3, factorization, completing the square, and quadratic. So among these 3, we just looked at the completing the squares. Next class we will continue from here. But before we end this class, let's have a discussion. If you have a comment, question, any contribution to make the class even better next time, you can have one or two things to say. Let's summarize it, please. Any comment? Please write your names. Write your names for attendance. You can just write at the chat box whilst we listen to anyone who wants to speak. Write your names at the chat box for attendance purpose, please. Are you guys hearing me, please?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know, Lamin Fofana, you can go on and talk. Hello? Lamin Fofana, you can go on and talk. I think you want to say something.
Yes. I just want to say something regarding anyway, the classes obviously it is okay, but the issue here is that when we are doing when I'm saying the quadrangle, the calculation and so on, it is always relevant to do it face to face so that the understanding would have been better. But I understand, we are locked down, so I think we pray to God, so that if lockdown has been gone, or probably we can revise it, so that we can also all have, the full understanding about what we are doing. I just make a suggestion. Okay,
you mean to meet facially?
Yeah. What I'm saying, if we pray to Allah so that the lockdown can be fast now, so that we can be face to face. Because when we are doing calculation regarding what we are doing now, it is important, relevant, so that we see it we do it in a face to face at the level of the class, so that the clue and the understanding can be better.
Yeah, your point is noted. To be frank, this is not. I prefer the traditional way of delivering lectures, and because of the lockdown, that's why we are here. And I think it's the best. It's the best we have at hand for now. Yeah, as you said, let's pray that everything. We go back to the normality, because this is not normal. It's abnormal, period, abnormal days. And I prefer to be in class. I prefer the traditional way of delivering, but this is what we have for now. But let's keep praying so that we'll go back to the classrooms and we have that human interaction, because it helps you on understanding it as well.
Exactly.
Even delivering it's hard for us, because I'm using a mouse to type, and there is a lot of work that is going on behind here.
That's true.
All right. Any other comments, suggestions, so that we can improve? Because the goal is to make the class better every lectures. And what I have done today also, the material is in the same. It's the same materials, and you can go and read as well. And don't hesitate to contact me if you have some issues. I'm sorry that it takes time for me to respond to messages. I have a lot of other stuff to do as well. But be rest assured, I will get back to you, even if it will take a day or a few days, something like
that. Okay. Yeah, thank you.
And don't forget, please write your names, the attendance, in the chat box before this video goes off, please.
Yes, we have video.
Any other comments, suggestion, or any other things before we close the class until next week, the same time, 5:30?
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Ture.
Sorry, good evening. How are you?
I'm okay. Well, you are always quick to move to the next slide, And some of us, we try to copy the solutions for the sake of revision.
Okay. I normally share the video, and I will share this video as well, because we need to cover a lot of topics as well. And I think that the video, last class I shared the videos, and this one also, by God's grace, I will share it too, so you can copy the solution. But I will try to lower my speed. I thought that I'm even going very slow. But I will lower my speed. I will try my best to lower my speed. Your point is noted.
You share it on WhatsApp or you share it via the mail?
I share it through WhatsApp, the last one, and this one also.
Sorry?
The expectation is to share it through WhatsApp. I think your colleagues, if you have a friend, okay, so maybe ask someone to forward it to you. This one also will be shared through WhatsApp as well.
All right.
Any other comment, questions? All right, guys, please don't forget to write your name for attendance, please. At the chat box, please just write your full name and your student number. The video can go off at any time. I take records of that as well. And if you don't have any other things to do, then have a nice weekend. And please go through the material. If you go through the material, you'll be fine. Whether it's a test, exam, exercise, they are all coming from the materials I will be giving to you. And I'm also going through the materials. The lectures is just through the material. I'm trying to review it here. So go through it, and if you have a problem, maybe before you even contact me, contact a friend first. That's sometimes the best way to learn is through your friends. Okay, class. Until another time. Everyone have a nice weekend.
Wish you will say.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, welcome.